Hi, this is Robert. This is my YouTube channel, Healing Mind, Sickening World. I think that pretty much anyone can relate to the fact that we are in a society that's in decline. I was doing my morning writing and journal entry, and I'm trying to go through a lot of my Instagram posts. Most of my Instagram posts, almost all of my Instagram posts are writings, like a lot of it's poetry or just thoughts on society and in the direction we're going. And I'm trying to keep hope that maybe there's something that can bring us together and stop the division that we're experiencing. But a couple of years ago during the pandemic, I wrote this in particular. I had just gotten out of the hospital for my first I have paranoid schizophrenia and borderline personality disorder, and it seems like either one or the other is always playing havoc in my life. When I'm going through schizophrenia symptoms, I tend to withdraw and isolate, and so my borderline personality disorder isn't really playing much role in my life because I don't have what relationships to fear of losing, which is a big symptom of my borderline personality disorder. Is fear of abandonment. And so like it's when I am trying to build connections, then it's then that I'm at risk of my borderline personality disorder getting out of control. And they can sort of feed off each other, and I'm trying to learn to make them not so destructive. But they were under control for several years. I had several years of really solid stability until about 2019 or 2020. And 2020 is where it really hit me. And when the pandemic hit, I had my first suicide attempt in 12 years. And I wrote this shortly after getting out. It's called Two Worlds of Fear, and it says, in today's world of chaos and disorder, with the mind detaching across its border, the lines between the world that turns to actual brutality and a world of horror perceived outside factual reality. Those distinct lines blur as fact and fiction align, and the real world's horrors match those of a young sick mind. After several years of recovery and stability, leaving behind me a crippling life of disability, I worked my hardest to become able and strong, and loved ones were there and cheered me along. But the worlds aligned, and in synchrony they went dark. I lost my grasp, slipped down back, and the difference was stark. My worlds are in turmoil, both real and unreal, but the difference between the two is getting harder to tell. I resign myself back to life alone, my loved ones not there. Like a young sick mind, this life is lived alone and in despair. I watched the world fight for truth, justice, and the American way, but the world has cast off its heroes, no Superman to save the day. The chaos of discourse, struggles, truth, and reality is my fight all along, and I'm left to wonder, am I just sick, or the world decided to follow along? And I'm going to try to expand on each one of these that I share. It's really discouraging to see society just choosing to divide itself and follow along behind leaders who encourage us to expand that division and seek out ways to alienate the other half of society, to shun and disparage and slander and sometimes even dehumanize people who just think differently than you. I mean, we may just see the world a different way, and that should be something we should be able to. Throughout all of my life, we were able to do it in a way that didn't lead to riots throughout entire summers and stormings of the Capitol. I mean, I condemn the 2020 riots, and I condemn January 6th, but I'm not going to sit there and play the bullshit game that somehow January 6th was just this unprecedented just break of norms and assault on democracy. I mean, all of 2020 was basically an insurrection. All of the 2020 riots was trying to overthrow society, and I mean, for God's sake, the White House was under assault, and they were worried about the gates being breached. But we didn't care about that because the leader that was inside the White House, he was an approved leader to try to overthrow, and it's just complete hypocrisy. And I have not forgotten the riots of 2020. I just recently went back through my Facebook feed of the last few years for reasons that I won't share, but I saw a lot of just my own posts during those riots of 2020, and it was I reposted it, and it's really pretty astonishing how brutal and violent those 2020 riots were, and how horrific they were, and we don't even care. It's like we've dismissed those, and we're dismissing the actual terror that people spent living in their houses with riots going on just a mile or so down the street, and we pretend to care and sympathize and empathize with AOC being terrified for her life in her office in a building that wasn't even under assault. It's just like we're all play acting. Our politicians, they're all play acting. All of our social leaders and people who seek to encourage the adoption of victimhood and the just playing the victim card and just trying to adopt whatever identity you can force to fit yourself, whatever seems to suit yourself, to, I don't know, especially as white people, to sort of cast off the sin of being white by adopting other identities. I mean, you can't say that this isn't happening. That's not like an actual, not just possibility, that's something going on. I mean, you demonize an entire race, and then you give them a way out by saying you can be trans, you can be any part of the LGBT community, and suddenly your guilt for being white is not so it's not so inescapable. So yeah, we're I don't know what to say. It's just, I've always wanted to be a voice for unity and a voice for sanity, and that's pretty astonishing come from someone who's lived their life in complete insanity, especially the first 10 years of my illness, and it's very especially the first 5. Like, I was not living in reality, and I was completely out of my mind and insane. And now I'm trying to talk the world into getting back its sanity and trying to find stability as a society, as I'm struggling to find stability in my own life. It's like someone's got to be a voice to say, you know, we got to stop this. I saw an astonishing video by a man I greatly admire, Jordan Peterson, and he was just saying, like, everything going on. He said, I need to stop. We need to stop. And it was the first phrase that he took ownership of it, and he said, I need to stop. And that doesn't mean we stop like trying to be a voice for sanity and reason, but God, we got to stop the hatred and the division. And if you think that is all on the right, you're delusional. Like, you don't pay attention to what your side is saying. You are the left and the leftist and that side of the political aisle, except especially the extremes, which is a large majority of it. I mean, you guys are about as hateful as and as venomous as I've seen anybody on my side. More so, like, none of the mainstream figures on my side speak anywhere near the toxicity and hatred and just viciousness that you guys espout every day on news and all over the TV. And I really believe, and I hope it's true, that people are just tuning out. Like, you guys are I mean, you talk about Donald Trump inciting January 6th. I mean, you guys are inciting, you guys incited, you, the mainstream media, incited all of 2020. You demonized people for deciding to make their own medical decisions that people are suffering side effects from, deadly side effects. But you shamed anybody who didn't take this experimental vaccine. I took it. I reading about some of the side effects. I wish I didn't. I took it because I was promised that I wouldn't get sick and that I wouldn't get my parents sick. I live with my parents. I'm disabled. I don't have many options in life right now. I do have hopes for success in my future, but for right now, I don't have the means to live anywhere but with my parents, and they're old and they're not. My dad is not in very good health, and I wanted to make sure that I was not going to get my dad sick because he's got all kinds of medical conditions that would have made him, a prime. He would have been in real danger of getting COVID. And I do believe the vaccines helped him when he finally got COVID. And I do think that people in that age group, and especially with pre-existing conditions, maybe it's worth taking the vaccine. But yeah, as far as people like me, I think we were lied to. I think that we've put our health in danger because of the lies, and it didn't even take the shaming for me. I believed what they said. But there were people who were having to choose between their livelihood and taking a vaccine that they just didn't trust. And not only could they lose their livelihood, they could be shunned from society. They were talking about, like, we had to make life as difficult as possible for people who won't accept the vaccine. The government people talking like this, and it's just like, what the fuck happened to freedom? Is 2020 the year we just decided to give over our freedom, and a large enough percentage of us just openly handed the government this unchecked power that they now have, that I don't even know if we're going to get it back. But for God's sake, we need to decide whether we want to be ruled or whether we want to accept this country as what it was intended. Our politicians were meant to serve us. They were meant to serve us. They're public servants. But they think they own us. They think they tell us what to do. I mean, unelected people in the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, who elected him to make the changes to society that he is advocating, and not just advocating, actually he's actually creating them and making them reality. And where are the people stopping him? He's not elected. We did not elect him to make these changes, but he for some reason, enough of our leaders have given corrupt, evil people like this enough power that they have free reign to do whatever they want to our lives. And this whole transgender craze, I mean, you can look at my videos. I've been in very serious relationships with transgender women. I've loved them. I've moved on from that community because it was so toxic to me. I was never accepted. I was shunned because of my political and religious beliefs. I faced actual bigotry and pretty hostile reactions simply for my beliefs, and I was having to justify myself as a good person, and I wasn't going to do it anymore. I wasn't going to apologize for my beliefs. I wasn't going to apologize for what I value in society, and my belief in my Savior, and that He has created an objective reality, and that there is such thing as objective reality. As someone who's struggled with reality for much of my life, I find it deeply disturbing that society enough of society has decided to abandon objective reality, that they're creating entire ideologies that somehow, try to create philosophies that can explain away scientific fact with carefully and deliberately complicated language, so it's even hard to understand. I mean, I'm looking into queer theory and gender studies just to understand it, and it's so. I mean, the just the way they talk, it's like the average person isn't going to understand this. I'm struggling to understand it. I'm trying to, but I think they're deliberately like just trying to make it as inaccessible as possible by using overly technical language that isn't necessary, almost to just kind of showcase and show off their academic credibility, because they can speak in a way that you just, simple people like me and you, we can't understand it, but we can understand that they're speaking in a way that shows that they know better than us, so we should just follow along and just trust that they know what's best for us. And that's sort of my feeling on that. And I don't accept that. I don't accept that some academic elites who have never suffered actual real life struggle of struggling with a job and working a real job and trying to find something that works. I mean, my daily struggles, I don't accept that makes me less than these people. The fact that I haven't gone to college, I didn't finish high school. I got my GED. I passed my GED with about as high of scores as you can. I'm not unintelligent. I comprehend most of what I read. I mean, almost everything I read, if it's written in a way that it is really what every writer should aim to do, to make it accessible to anyone, to as many people who are reading it as possible. And if you're purposely making it inaccessible to the vast majority of society, you're either a very bad writer, you're very arrogant, or you're being intentionally vague and just using your coded language to mask what it is you're doing. And I'm just going to finish up by saying, I just think that you can support people who struggle with gender dysphoria without corrupting and confusing and abusing. I mean, it's actual sexual abuse to be sexualizing children, taking them to drag shows. This is not something that's okay. This is not necessary to support the LGBT community. This is the intentional corruption of children and childhood innocence and the sexualization of children. And if anyone has a problem with me saying it, I don't give a shit. It's grooming. You guys are groomers. You are grooming an entire generation of children for ideological purposes. You're being predators for ideological and I'm sorry, but religious purposes. You guys have a worldview that is entirely based on faith, and it is misguided. It's destructive to society. And if anyone is watching any of these videos that I'm making and finding anything useful in them, I invite you to share them. If you want to see any of my writings, I'm on Instagram at Moby Moberto, MobyMoberto, and I'm trying my best to figure out any way I can reach an audience to where maybe I could have a voice, because I don't think there's enough voices out there just trying to stop, not use mockery and just use reason and rationality to try to show people, this is just, we're destroying ourselves. The world didn't used to be this way. I don't know if there might be people who are young enough that they don't know a world that's not as divided and disconnected and hateful as we are. Back in the 90s, I mean, we had pretty strong unity. Racial division was pretty much a thing of the past. There wasn't. I mean, we had racial equality and acceptance on a large scale in the 90s, and we were making progress with homosexual acceptance. But I mean, we're going backwards. We're not progressing. They talk about being progressives. They're just regressing. They're regressing all of society back to a place where we're going to, like, the only solution is we're going to clamor and beg them to please fix this for us. You are the ones who destroyed it, but please, God, someone has to fix this. We need someone to fix this. And I fear about what leader our people are going to select to fix this, because that is a very dangerous power to give to somebody to fix all of society. And if you, especially if you're giving it that power to the very people who broke society, they broke society for a reason, and it was to be given that power to reconstruct society. I just want to finish with that. Just ponder that. They were the ones who broke society, and they did it because they wanted to restructure society. They succeeded in breaking society, and we need to want to decide whether we want to allow to give them the power to restructure it. Because if they purposely broke society, I don't think their motivations are very good, and you should start to consider whether you think so or not as well, because they're taking the power, and it's up to people who stand against it to prevent them from doing so. And I don't know what means that we use to do that. Voting seems to not be working. Our leaders are failing us. Republican leaders are just Democrat lights, a lot of them, and they just go along with it. There's very few leaders that I trust anymore. I just started following politics in 2016, and I was just getting better from my mental illness and starting to make progress. And I saw the positive changes happening in our country, because I had been paying it a little bit of attention over Obama's presidency, and I saw a lot of division. And I just know that during Donald Trump's presidency, my opportunities personally in my own life were so drastically improved over what there was before. Like, I had opportunity as a disabled worker to there was an infinite number of jobs that I could choose one if one wasn't working out. Now I'm working for a company, and I really like it, but I'm struggling with sort of a regression of my symptoms, and I'm like, if I lose this job, I've been looking on job sites, and it's like there's really nothing available, nothing that would work for me. And this is different than what I had under Donald Trump's leadership. But we're supposed to ignore that, and we're supposed to say, well, we got Joe Biden, and he may be fucking up the country, but he's not Donald Trump, so that's okay. We just ignore everything he's doing, because he's not Donald Trump. And God forbid we consider electing Ron DeSantis, because he's just a more polished version of Donald Trump. He's actually more dangerous than Donald Trump. And that's been the typical line for many years, is every Republican leader is a unique extreme danger that this world hasn't faced. It's nothing new with Donald Trump. They did it to Mitt Romney. They did it to George Bush. And we were told that everything, all of the societal norms that were broken during Donald Trump's presidency, we were told that it was because he was such a unique danger that he had to be opposed. And now Ron DeSantis comes along, who I would gladly support if he ran, and he's suddenly worse than Donald Trump. It's just the same old thing. It's never going to end. They just continued hatred, continued division, continued just destroying of social unity and cohesion, and I choose to reject it. And I ask anyone who is willing to join me in rejecting it, and I'm going to start trying to find ways that I can try to fight back against this. And right now all I can think of is just making videos and sharing my writings and hoping that somehow someone will find it helpful, and maybe change some minds and some hearts. I don't think we should be hating transgender people. I've loved several of them, and even ones I've encountered have been pretty decent to me. And just like any other community, there's rotten ones as well. There's rotten conservatives. I'm not gonna deny that. There's conservatives that I wouldn't associate with, and there's trans people that I feel bettered my life. But I basically had to cut off all communities to the LGBT community I had, because I had some really fucking bad experiences in that community, and I won't go into it. I'm not going to talk anymore on my feelings of the LGBT community, other than saying that I cherish the memories I had with the people I had them with. But as of right now, and what the LGBTQ community stands for, and I'm going to try to add the Q, because that is the most important and dangerous letter in that acronym, is the Q for queer, and that's why I'm studying queer theory. But yeah, I mean, as far as what that community is pushing and advocating for in society, I cannot in good conscience do anything but be a voice against it in every capacity I can. If there are members of the LGBT community who do not support the agenda being pushed by the leaders of your community, then I love you, and you're my brother and sister just like anyone else. But I cannot support and try to be a voice for a community that is advocating the things that they are. I thought I could. I wanted to, and I still do think, and I will try to, say that we shouldn't discriminate or judge people. We should give people of any group the chance to show who they are, the quality of their character. But we shouldn't accept people just because of the group that they're in. We shouldn't give them credibility over others because of the identity group they've adopted. That's just ridiculous. It's asinine. It's the complete opposite of the brilliant proposition that Martin Luther King Jr. came up for our society, to dreaming of a world where his children would be accepted based on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. And now it's not even skin color. It's there's hundreds and hundreds of groups that you can join where you will be the quality of your character will be ignored, and it's only that identity that matters. And if you accept that identity and you take it on, then your actions don't matter. You can be as despicable a person as you want, and you're shielded because you're not a victim. You have privilege. You have liberal privilege. I was going to write a book on that several years ago. I was going to write a book on that, or at least an article on that very concept, liberal privilege. But I guess I should be honored, because I guess it's flattering that someone I respect had the same idea I did. But I think I do believe that Donald Trump Jr. actually wrote that book, liberal privilege. And liberals, they get away with anything, and conservatives, they could put on the wrong shoes and face cancellation. If they're wearing, something, they're wearing a red hat. It might not even say "Make America Great Again." It could just maybe trigger somebody because it looks like a MAGA hat. I mean, for God's sake, people, we need to stop this. I'm just going to finish on that. It's getting kind of long, and if you found this at all helpful, or if you think anyone might benefit from hearing this, just like it, share it. I'm going to try to start making more of these videos, and I hope to be a voice to I know there are many voices speaking for unity, and they are the ones who are called racist and bigots and divisive, and it's just so untrue. Like, the narrative is backwards. The narrative is completely backwards. It is a complete lie, and I hope people wake up to it. And I would consider every amount of pain I've been through in my life with my mental disorders completely worth it if I was able to be any kind of positive change in this society. I'm hoping to be a voice to help people to overcome mental illness. I'm hoping to be a voice to help people overcome addiction. I've fought both of these things. I've overcome much of it. I've overcome so much in my life, and we all have the capacity to be better than we were. Everybody has the capacity to be better than they were yesterday, and we all need to make that choice to make every day better than the last, and to seek to improve ourselves. The government is not going to improve your life for you. If you believe that, you've fallen for the oldest lie in the book. Government has no interest in helping you and fixing you. There are very few people in the government that I trust to actually care and be working for the American people. The rest of them, all they care about is power, and they will say and make up any lie that they have to increase that power and to diminish the potential loss of that power, and that is their only concern. People like Klaus Schwab, they don't care about the bettering of society. They care about their power. And if you don't believe that, you've been brainwashed. I'm sorry, that's the only thing I can tell you. It's not true. The political leaders, if they are if you see them as your salvation, as your savior, you're worshiping at the altar of a false god. There is one God. He is Jesus Christ, and I am trying to learn to know him and follow him and learn his teachings, because I've read enough of them to know that salvation and the bettering of your life is found in his words. Like, nothing politicians say they have nothing to offer as far as healing and overcoming your own weaknesses. And that's one thing we need to decide as a society, that is to take on personal responsibility and ownership of our own actions and our own decisions. And if we're fucking up our lives, don't look to the government to fix it. You have the power to fix it, and I'm trying to decide to do that for myself. And I think we all should. I think we all need to reject the overgrowing power of the government, because it is going to become tyrannical. And I'm sorry, I may not have faith in a lot of the GOP, but tyranny, if it comes, will not come from the right. If you believe that, like I said, you're being lied to and you're brainwashed. But I hope that this, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, share it if you would like, and God save us. Stay strong. This is really, I think things are just going to keep getting worse, but if we have any possibility of making them better, we all need to do everything we can.